we'll talk a bit about background a little bit and just get into. I really want to have him just get into his life and what he does and how it works and how he places songs and how he writes these crazy, incredible hit songs. And when we get into that, I don't want to separate the question period. Like if he says something, I say something you want to ask about, just raise your hand and just ask him.
I'll bring them up.
All right. So,
how's everybody doing?
Great.
I'll do better with this if I'm responding to questions. Like if y'all ask me something, I can. If I'm sitting here looking at the list and I'm already blank, I don't know what to say. So just ask me questions and it'll come to me.
First of all, tell us. Tell from your background. Like, okay, I'll say one little thing. The Way I Are, Anonymous by Bobby Valentino, a whole bunch of stuff for Keri Hilson. Well, he's a member of the Clutch songwriting team. The Clutch is Keri Hilson is part of the Clutch. These guys have had like over 100 song placements in the past 2 years, which is insane because some people struggle to get one song placement in a year. What these guys have accomplished in the last couple of years as a cumulative songwriting team is just insane. Now, I used to write with Balewa in Jersey before he joined the Clutch or formed the Clutch. And he was always ridiculously talented. Before that, he did stuff like, remember all the Jaheim hits, Put That Woman First, Fabulous for little kids, baby, oh. Promise Ring, Ciara. We did
Boy, Ciara.
Yeah, there you go.
Done a lot of records, and there's no real formula to it. It's really just about you got to be aware of the politics of the music business. And once you kind of get your footing in like who you need to know, the kind of people you need to be around, if you're truly talented and determined to, get your music out there, it will come together. So somebody just asked me some questions.
Where'd you start?
I started writing in college. I'm not gonna say what year that was. But I started writing records when I was in college, just as a fluke. I used to try to rap. I was terrible, so I just kind of meshed, and then I realized I could sing a little bit, and it just kind of, I meshed it into songwriting, and I just kind of, I was in college, singing in the choir, ended up getting in a group. That group, one of the guys that was in the group knew Luke Skywalker. I don't know if y'all know who that is. Luke Skywalker had a big label back in the 90s called Luke Records that broke, H-Town, a lot of southern central type of rap. He had a production deal with Atlantic. That was my first record deal, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was just, just writing.
I was just dancing because my candy was good, I'm sorry.
No, some pretty good candy.
Yeah, it was on accident, really.
What was the biggest challenge you faced?
We don't need the mic. I'm not coming out there.
The biggest challenge, trying to be a songwriter or trying to get records placed.
Yeah.
Bringing my records to a level that they were going to be competitive with what was on the radio. Because as a writer, you got to surround yourself with talented people. You can't be the best person in your crew. You got to surround yourself with people that are really that are going to say to you, because at the end of the day, it's really just a matter of opinion. It's all your opinion and the person's listening to your opinion, but there is a standard that you have to bring your music to, and that took me a minute to get to because I just thought everything I did was good, and it wasn't. So, I think that was the biggest.
What would you say is the biggest difference between the music that you thought was good before and all the music that brought you commercial success?
Good question. Let me change the word good. And you know what I was doing? I was writing what I felt. I had to learn how to tweak that into what everybody was going to want to hear. Because there's a common story that everybody in this room has been in love with somebody, broken up with somebody at some point. It's like the common thread of it is really just love, and you just got to put 1,000 different spins on that. So I learned how to take my perspective and turn it into what you got to go out. You got to listen to everything. You got to listen to. You can't just listen to hip hop. You can't just listen to soul. You can't just listen to that. You got to listen to everything, and that's what helped me, I believe.
was the first track you produced, and what'd you do with the check, your first check?
The first record I produced, I didn't get paid. So, but the first time when I started making money was with Donell Jones, You Know What's Up. That's when I started making money. That's when I was like, the publishers started coming, and you know, publishing companies started coming in. And
Can you elaborate a little bit more about the first song you did that you didn't get a check for, and why you didn't get that check, and how it made you feel?
honestly, I didn't care at first because I wasn't doing this to get money. Honest to God, I know everybody says that, but I didn't get into it to make money. I got into it because I'd be in class, supposed to be focusing on whatever I was doing in school, and was writing down lyrics, trying to rap or whatever. So I ended up doing this because I loved it, and it was like you can't lose that. I didn't get paid because I didn't educate myself. I had no clue to what, where the money comes from once you write a record. So I was just, the people I was with was crooks. I'm not gonna say their name, but they were crooks. And they took all of my publishing. So I remember signing it. I remember asking, what is publishing? Don't worry about that. If this ends up on YouTube, you know who I'm talking about. Point that camera.
Don't worry, I got you.
That was my first deal. I had no idea what anything was, and I remember signing away my publishing. And I remember, honestly, it was an artist. I can't even say the artist's name. I just didn't know what I was doing, so I gave everything away. So.
That's happened a few times.
How did you go from being on your own and writing your own to finding the clutch and forming that group? And then was that what helped you write those bigger records, having a group of people that were like your team, or? You
know what that did? The clutch, I didn't put the clutch together. Ethiopia had Omarion put the clutch together. She was our publisher / manager at the time. And it was a brilliant idea, and a lot of people have kind of taken it from there and formed what it was a writing camp, which I see a lot of people doing now. It was like a lot of producers that would have never really worked together because there's no need. Like if Derek does beats, I call Derek to come do something. I'm not gonna have 4 other producers in the room with him because Derek does beats. He makes tracks. Same thing with songwriters. It's not a, before the concept of writing teams came up, it was almost offensive. Writers would take that as an offensive where, if I came here to write the record, I'm the writer. You don't need 4 or 5 writers in there, which was a bad way to look at it. Yeah, the writing camp, and what the clutch allowed us to do was just turn out so many records that it was like no one could compete with us. It was like, our splits were smaller because there was 5 of us. But where one writer would go do 2 records, they would call the clutch in for a week to do 2 records, and we'd end up with 8 records placed because me and Keri would go over here, JQ and Zeke would go in this room, or Candace, we would all float around and mesh our ideas together, and we had a bunch of records, and the label heads were so impressed by it, they didn't know how to respond to it, so they just started cutting checks. We'll take this one, we'll take that one, and then it's not that, what we were doing was we were writing really good records, but on top of that, once you break through, once people accept you as, okay, they make good records. It's not that this person doesn't, but you gotta break through that ceiling of, okay, they make records, they will keep coming to you for records. And all you gotta do is just do quality control. You just have to know when to throw a record away. That's not good, this is good. So I had some big pop records before the clutch, but the clutch was the culmination of just perfect timing, perfect management. The industry was in a place at the time to where it was excited by the branding we were doing on our records. If you ever noticed, we would brand all of our records, which would let people know, okay, that's a clutch record. It's a hit, so we need another one. So it did, in a way, yes, it did allow us to make more.
So how did you go from solo to the clutch? Like you said, it was all the right things. How did that all come together?
I got invited, all of the publishers, Ethiopia put a writing camp together where they took the premier writers from 5 different publishing companies. It was Universal, Universal, it was 5 different publishing companies. They picked 2 writers out of each one, and they flew all of us down to Miami during Hurricane Katrina. So I remember studio we were working out of, the lights were going off and on. And that's how it happened. I didn't even know those guys. We knew of each other, but we didn't know each other. And out of all the writers that were there, it was like maybe 30 different writers there. The 5 of us just kind of, for some reason, we just kept gelling and it kept working. And I think it was Zeke, somebody said, we should keep doing this. One of them said, we should keep doing this. And then somebody else said, we should call this something. And then Keri went, what do you call that player? Because she plays basketball, but she couldn't think of the name. She was like, what do you call that player that at the end, you get the ball to that player? And then somebody with the clutch. And there it is. So we just went with that.
When you're writing, when you have like a placement deal, when a label invites you over, and when you, just in general, when you write a song, do you like kind of try to tailor it to a certain artist and then sell it to them, or like do you just write you and then not even thinking of, oh, this is a song that, you know, Beyonce would sing, or this is a song that Ciara would sing?
You got to know how to balance that, because the worst thing to do is to cater a record to an artist and they don't take it. Then you stuck with that record. That record is just an iTunes classic from there. It's like, it's never coming out. You can't. So I lost a lot of records like that. You got to know how to split it, because at the end of the day, you can't really go off of what A&R say, because they don't know. They're gonna say to you, I want Justin Bieber ish, and all they're really saying is, give me a hit record. So, just the line between what artists would and wouldn't sing, like Justin Bieber is gonna say the same thing Usher would say, minus sex. Just take, if you know it's for a 15-year-old artist, just take the word sex out. But other than that, they say it's all the same thing. So cater it, but don't say their name in the record until you're in the studio with them. Then you can do that.
How did you get to the point of getting a publishing deal? So before anything kind of transpired, like what circles were you in? What did you do to get into those circles?
I was running around New York, starving to death.
Divine milk a little bit.
Okay.
First rounds of
Okay. Yes. Running around New York, New Jersey, just
I know the first time.
But I guess you always there. Yeah, to answer her question, it was before. To get in, how did I get a pub deal? Oh, I was in a group, and we were performing at this club somewhere in the village. This club called Cafe Y in the village, and this dude approached us to manage us. Loved all of our records, hated us as a group. So it was an artist named Joya on A&M at the time that wanted. He would go shopping our records as try to get us a record deal. And the first couple of meetings we took, the people liked the records better than they liked the group. So that was my introduction to publishing.
How long have you been in the game? You've been in the game 15 years, and at what year did it take you to break and actually make money? So would that be like 7 years or 10 years? Since day one you started this? Roughly.
I was broke most of trying to get into the business.
Wow.
That's just everybody's not gonna do this. This isn't just because you can put some melodies together and because you have a passion for music. Some of us are just meant to be consumers. The people in this room, y'all are in this room because y'all are writers or producers or whatever it is. Like, it's other stuff you could have been doing today. But just to come in and sit down and listen to somebody talk, it's just my opinion. So it's like, you're here because this is what you really want to do. So you got to be prepared for the process. Just because you get a record on the radio does not mean it's gonna make money. Just because you get a pub deal does not mean you're not gonna go into suspension and make it to your real check. It don't really mean. You gotta write hit records, especially the climate of the music business now. If you're not on the radio, you are not making money.
So then can you explain to everyone what the key elements of a hit record would be?
Oh, pardon me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yes.
Some of my team violated protocol. We're taking questions by sort of.
Sorry, but Derek was gonna ask. Derek was
She did like this. She did do this.
I did. We saw a sign here.